So here I am then, I'm just going to get my file. I will obviously, when you're working on real nails, you need to check for contraindications and you need to make sure that you sanitize with a sanitizing solution your hands, client's hands and equipment, and then you'll be able to start filing the natural nail. So what we're going to do is just get the natural nail and I'm just going to just file it in one direction, this way and this way. Working on the Handolly here, which is a new piece of kit that I've got. So I must file from one direction this way and one direction that way. Then I just want to make sure I clear any bits out from underneath the nails. I would then push my cuticles back and clip off if necessary, but obviously there's no cuticles on this hand. So now I'm going to get my electric file and I'm going to make sure it's running down at a slow speed. Slowest speed I can get it, with a fine sanding band on here, and I will sanitize this before I use it, obviously, and then I will just hold the nail up and I will just go round the back like this, little short strokes. Then I'm going to come down this side and then I have to go up that side there. Now I'm going to put it at 45 degrees to the nail and I'm going to keep it flat on the nail, and then I'm going to pull it towards myself in a circular kind of motion, just taking off the surface shine off the nail and not applying any pressure whatsoever to that nail, because I don't want to thin this nail down. I just want to remove all the traces of skin off the nail plate. So I'm going to now just dust off with my plastic dusting brush. I'm going to dehydrate the nail plate with some alcohol, and that will dehydrate the nail plate, remove any grease off the nail itself. Then I need to select my tips, and I'm using clear tips here which I got off Amazon, and I got 2 boxes of 500 for around about £8.50, and these are actually pre-shaped tips, so there's no need to shape them. They are coffin shaped and I think they're brilliant. So now we're going to get this stuck on to the nail. So I've got my tip, I've sized it, make sure it actually fits. So when you're sizing up a tip, don't forget you may have to take some off the sides to make it fit across there. Now I'm going to get my glue. I've got brush on glue here, which I prefer, and I'm going to just apply that to the nail tip, making sure that it doesn't run up to my fingers. Spread that round. Now usually with these dummy hands you do have to hold this a little bit longer than you would do on a natural nail, because sometimes they do take a little bit longer to stick. So I'm just going to hold that there, making sure there's no air bubbles underneath the tip, and get it on as straight as possible. Make sure you're holding these two sides so that they are actually well caught. A little tip I can give you is to get some eyelash extension tweezers, just pop those down there and you can hold the side like this to make sure the sides are stuck so you don't get your own fingers stuck to the glue that may be on the nail. So now I've got the tip attached, it's quite firm. And what I need to do now is just blend in this line here and take any shine off the nail surface. Now for that I'm going to use my electric file, again with the fine sanding band on, and I'm going to just increase the speed to about number 3 on my particular machine. Now I'm going to hold this down at 45 degrees, keeping it slightly down at the back. And I'm just going to use this front section here, and I'm just going to pull that towards myself like this. Now again, I'm not applying excessive pressure, I'm just being very, very gentle. I don't want to file the natural nail, so I'm keeping it at a slight angle downwards, so that if I do catch the natural nail, it's not going to do any damage. Just pulling it towards me. Now I'm going to take the shine off all the tips, so I'm just going to go all over the tip, just take the shine off. Now obviously it's making a little bit of noise, but on a real hand you don't get this noise. The hand kind of absorbs the noise. There we go, all blended. Now that's ready now for our whatever we're going to put on it, whether it's gel, whether it's or acrylic. Now because they're pre-shaped tips, you don't have to do any shaping, so that's great. Now obviously if the client wanted them short, you'd have to cut them down a bit. And as you get shorter and shorter and shorter, you may have to just do a little bit more shaping just to bring it in to make it look right. So there we have our tip applied. So now I'm going to put some acrylic onto this nail, and what I'm going to use today actually is Young Nails Colour Pink, and I'm going to put that in at the back by the cuticle, and I'm just going to fade that down into this clear tip here. So I'll get my brush, pick up my powder, and I'm just going to place it at the back here, keeping the finger down slightly so it doesn't run back up to the cuticle. Press at the back here, and then to get it into the back, and then just drag that down into the nail. Make sure you don't get any build up in the sides. Place some on the arch section. Just let it settle for a second or two so it's part setting, and then I'm just going to drag that down the nail. Now obviously this hand is not as flexible as a real hand, so it's a little bit more difficult to do, but it still can be done. Right, so I'm going to get some more. I'm just going to place it a little bit further down. Just leave it for a second or two, just pat it out around the edges, and then just start dragging it down, much like an ombre, but going into a clear nail. That clear tip. So this is a cover pink powder, so it's got quite a lot of, it's quite opaque. Just make sure there's no build up in the sides. I'm just going to put a bit more at the back, just to increase the density of the colour there. Pat that down, and then just drag that down the nail. So it's just more or less just stroking it forward. I think I might just put a little bit more where the smile line, or where the tip joins the thing, just to get that bit of a denser colour there. Just going to brush that back into there a bit. There we have it. I've just faded that down to 0 towards the front there. Now I'm just going to let that dry off a little bit. So we'll come back to this in a few minutes. So now I'm going to get one of my favourite powders from CJP, which is called Shooting Stars. And I'm just going to pick up some of that. I'm just going to pop it onto the nail and just spread it round into a shape. Now this is a glitter powder that's already got acrylic powder in it, so you don't need to worry about it sticking onto the nail plate, onto the nail. And I'm just going to bring that up and just across that clear tip at the front there, just to so that when we have finished we will have a clear tip at the front with this stars on the top. Then I'm going to get a Glitter Bells, it's called Pluto, and it's kind of iridescent, and it's also got stars in it as well. We've got a great big star there. Don't know whether I want that actually, no, I'm going to get rid of that. But this is like iridescent. So what we mean by that is that when you actually have it on the nail, it's going to really catch the light. And all those little pink bits in it, they really reflect the light and look absolutely amazing. So you just move them round to where you think you want them. Quite often, less is more in some situations like this. Right, so I'm just going to let that settle a bit. Now what I'm going to do now is encapsulate all of this in clear. And I'm using Glitter Bells core powder, which is called Glass Slippers, and it is a very clear powder. So I'm going to pick up my bead, and I'm just going to place it onto the nail here, and then I'm just going to drag that out over that there to encapsulate that. Now it's very important obviously to encapsulate the anything that you put onto the nails so that you don't file off the glitter when you come to file it. So just make sure you've got a good covering onto there. At this point you can build up your arch as well. I'm just going to pat that out across the end here, and then I'm just going to brush that backwards into the nail. If you get any overhang over the edges, just drag your brush along the edge like that and it will just take it off. Try not to put any acrylic powder back into your monomer liquid, otherwise it will start going gloopy, and then you'll find that it won't pick up the powder as well as it did when you first started with the clean, fresh liquid. So just encapsulate it. And you can get a good covering on there because you are going to file it down. certainly don't want to be filing off this. It's the same when you're doing ombre as well. Make sure you encapsulate your pink into white, fade. Otherwise, as you start filing, you'll just fade off the graduation and then you'll have nothing left. Your ombre will disappear. I think that's more or less enough now. I just want to just tip the finger over slightly, just check that side there. Make sure it's not thick at the back. Don't forget, clean out your side walls. Make sure you haven't got acrylic on the side walls. You can always use your brush like this to pat in at the sides. And then what I need to do now is to let that set. But obviously if you're doing a full set, you just move on to your next nail, and by the time you come back, all of that will be set. Always check you haven't got any acrylic under there before you move to your next nail, because you don't want to be drilling out underneath the nail if possible. Okay, so there we have our nail ready for filing. Right, so I think my acrylic is now set long enough. But if you want to test it, you can just hit it with a wooden stick. If it goes click, 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 it's usually ready to file. So first thing I'm going to do is get my file, and this is just a 100 grit file, and I'm just going to file all around the cuticle area here, side walls I should say, and then just file up the sides like this. And you want to be able to see the top of your file when you're filing, so you get nice sharp edges. Just see the top of your file like there. Now you need just check the ends, that you haven't lost your shape on the end, like so. And then I'm going to get my electric file, and I'm going to put my fine carbide bit on, and I'm going to switch it on and bring it up to about almost top speed, but not quite. And then I'm just going to file around the back here, holding it very close to the end, so I've got good control of it, and just go around the back like this, just to take down that round by the cuticle there, so it's not thick. Then I'm just going to come down the nail like this, just smoothing down the whole nail, making sure that I don't stop part way down. Down the whole nail, smoothing it down. If you see any lumps anywhere, you can just take those off. And as you go along, twist the finger so that you can see the side where you're filing. If you need to go up that way, you can go up that way as well, because you always have to file against the rotation of the head. So once I've come down, I want to go across. Don't go across like this, because as it gets at the high point, it can dig in there sometimes. So put it at 45 degrees and go across that way. Keep it moving so that it doesn't dig in. Don't apply any pressure. Just let the weight of the handset do all the work for you. So there we have it. So now I'm going to switch off my electric file, put that down, and I'm going to get my hand file, and I'm just going to go over the top in quite long strokes like this. So you don't want to be going like this. Nice long strokes. Support the nail underneath here so you're not bouncing it up and down. Go all over the nail and just try to get an even colour across the whole nail. Once you've got this even colour, it gives you a good indication of that it's level. Just be careful around the back section that you're not filing your client's skin. You can always use the fingers on your left hand to protect skin areas. Like if I was filing down here, I'd put my finger there and file up against my finger. So that way I'm actually protecting. On this side I'm actually using this finger here. So I'm filing against that finger like this, so that when I come round like this, I'm actually controlling that file. I don't want to damage my client's skin. To finish off this nail now, what I need to do is get my white block, and this is a 100 grit block. You don't want anything that's too smooth, and just go around all your nail, applying pressure. Use the corners of your block like this in the corners of your nails, and just get a really nice smooth finish on the nails. That feels great. Now if you want to check it to see is it ready for your top coat or your gel polish, if you were just doing a plain nail, just get some alcohol, wet your pad, and then wet the nail all over, and that way you'll be able to examine the surface to see if there's any dents or bumps that are causing reflections in the surface that shouldn't be there. Once I've finished off my nails, I will then apply my top coat, and I'm using a Wonder Gel, which is my favourite no white top coat. I only ever use no white top coats now because they give a very high gloss, and then that's going to go under the lamp for 60 seconds. So our two sample nails, or I should say two, you might wonder where the other one came from, but I did that one in between. And you can see that it's got a very, very high shine. And that actual product embedded, encapsulated, looks amazing. So I hope that was helpful to you in using the Handolly. I can really recommend them, and what I really like, as I said, they don't, when you're using your tools and wherever, they don't just drop off, because when they're actually in there, there's a lot of nail tip actually inside here, which means that they're just not going to fall off, which is what happens on a lot of these hands, and it's just going to save you a lot of aggravation. As I said, they are acetone safe, so you can soak off any acetone you may get on the hand itself, and you can buy all the spare parts, as I said, when I was unboxing it, and I think they're absolutely brilliant. Quite pricey at $160 but for the kit, but I think very worthwhile, and especially for your photography. So this is John signing off, and I hope that I'll see you again soon. Bye for now.